Hello and welcome to New Fast Food. We've got a lot of fast food news today, including a bucket full of stuff to talk about from KFC, plus more news from McDonald's, Little Caesars, Jack in the Box, Papa John's. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. Try to keep up. We're probably going to go a little bit quicker than normal. If this is your first time tuning in, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Plus, you'll also want to hit that notification bell so therefore you'll always be notified when I release new videos. Let's jump right into the KFC news, and there's plenty to talk about. KFC has a new kind of chicken, they got a new Kernel, but we're going to start with their new version of their chicken sandwich, the Crispy Kernel. This is the double crispy kernel. It comes with 2 chicken patties instead of the 1, which basically makes it very similar to the old KFC Double Down, just substituting in buns in place of the bacon and cheese. So I'd have to say I'm not a real huge fan of this idea, adding a second chicken patty to the crispy kernel. I think it's just really a case of too much chicken. You don't see anybody else do the double chicken patties on any of their sandwiches. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that when you have, especially the crispy versions, I could see maybe a grilled version of this being a little bit more appealing to myself. But when you have the crispy version, you basically have the bread on the bottom, then you have a breading in between the first chicken, then you have 2 breadings in between the first and second chickens, then you have another layer of breading and more bread. It's just a lot of bread to have in there, and not to mention a lot of chicken. You'll be biting through 2 layers of chicken. That's a lot. I'd actually much rather have a double down sandwich than this one. I just don't think that the bread with all that chicken and breading makes a whole lot of sense. And if you really want that much chicken, you might as well just eat the chicken on its own. You really don't need the bread at that point. And that brings us to the next new item from KFC, and that is the boneless chicken breasts. So KFC has had boneless chicken in the past. They had it once, I think about 8 years ago, then once about 5 years ago. But now they're reintroducing not a full line of boneless chicken, but just a boneless chicken breast. And they're making it available as part of a $20 fill-up where you get 6 boneless chicken fillets for plus 2 large mashed potatoes, a large coleslaw, and 4 biscuits for $20. So I think overall this is a pretty good value. Just in my head, I'd probably value each boneless chicken fillet at about $2.50. And that's not coming off the menu prices. That's just my own valuation of what I would think that they're worth. So if I value them at about $2.50, then 6 of them would be about 15 bucks, which would be $5 for the 2 large mashed potatoes and coleslaw and biscuits. So I think that's reasonably priced. I think this is obviously set to appeal to probably either a group of 3 adults or a family of 4 with 2 adults and 2 kids. Speaking of which, with the introduction of these new boneless chicken breasts, KFC is introducing a brand new Kernel. And at first, people weren't sure what to make out of the whole new Kernel every couple months idea, but I think people are really starting to latch onto it now, and people are really looking forward to who's going to be the next Kernel. And just so happens that this Kernel, I don't know what you want to call him, the boneless chicken breast Kernel, is Jason Alexander, or of course George from Seinfeld. And the commercial that they've done with them, actually the actual commercial that you'll see on TV, the 15-second spot, that's sort of in line with the rest of the KFC ads. There's not a lot different there. But KFC has also been producing these longer 1-minute videos, and these ones, obviously, they aren't shown on TV anywhere if you watch them, and this one especially. It's not really promoting any particular product, but it's just a funny way for KFC to attract attention to their videos. And this one's actually done pretty well. They kind of did it in the style of an old, I guess like early 80s sitcom. I'm not sure if it's early 80s, late 70s, somewhere around there. That style of sitcom, actually it's more in the vein of like a Too Many Cooks, and it's doing its job. It's bringing a lot of attention to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Jason Alexander, as a Kernel, he's definitely one of the funnier ones, at least in the skits that they put him in. His personality doesn't shine through all that much, but the skits that they have set up for him, they are pretty funny. So he was a good choice for that. You know, he's kind of on the shorter side for a Kernel, so that kind of sticks out. But overall, they've done a very good job of taking these celebrities, you know, even Reba McEntire, and turning them into, you know, at first it was believable. Now it's just sort of fun to see various celebrities dressed up like Colonel Sanders. And then there's actually a little bit more KFC news to talk about. This Wednesday, which is August 8th, ESPN is going to be running their, I guess it's going to be annual, ESPN 8, the Ocho, I don't know if you want to call it a promotion or takeover or what it is, but basically ESPN 8, the Ocho, comes from the movie Dodgeball. If you haven't seen Dodgeball, it's a great movie. It's got you know, Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Melody from Hey Dude. It's got also a bunch of other celebrities that do cameos. It's a really good movie, but I digress. In the movie, the sport dodgeball is shown on ESPN 8, the Ocho, with the joke being that the ESPN would have you know, 1, 2, 3, up to 8 channels, and then with each channel that the number goes up, the sports on them become more and more obscure. When you finally get to ESPN 8, you have things like dodgeball. So anyways, last year they started doing this in real life, where, you know, the sports aren't real, but they would make sort of video vignettes where they would show obscure sports like water bottle tossing, juggler dodgeball, and then run these clips throughout the day. Last year they did it on ESPNU. This year they're doing it on ESPN2, and KFC looks like it's sponsoring the whole thing. So in the preview, it looks a little bit different from last year, where these looks like more actual sports, but they're just being done with people who have KFC buckets on their heads. So not quite sure what to expect out of this, but tune in to ESPN2 this Wednesday, tomorrow, as it's converted to ESPN 8, the Ocho, sponsored by KFC, Battle of the Buckets. All right, next up, I gotta talk about McDonald's. Last week I told you that they were gonna be bringing back a 2 for $5 deal, real similar to their old McPick 2 for $5. This one though with some iconic sandwiches, and I pretty much called it with the exception of the chicken sandwiches. McDonald's officially launched this new deal, the 2 for $5 deal, yesterday. The items that are available in 2 for $5 are the Big Mac, the filet of fish, and then the classic chicken sandwich and the 10-piece nuggets. So I was speculating that it would be the Big Mac, the filet of fish, and some sort of chicken sandwich. I thought it'd be one of the more premium ones. It ended up being the classic chicken sandwich, which we'll get into that in a second. But first of all, like I expected, the quarter pounder with cheese is not part of this. That's the biggest difference between this 2 for $5 and the old McPick 2 for $5, is that the quarter pounder with cheese is not available here, basically because that is already a hot item due to the fresh beef being used in there, whereas the Big Mac, of course, still has the frozen patties in it, so it's you know, not as in demand right now. Either way, it's still a great deal. You know, 2 for $5 for the Big Mac. That's a really great deal. I know in my area the Big Mac is over $4 on its own, so to have be able to get 2 for $5, that's a great deal. The filet of fish, if you're into those, 2 for $5 could be a great deal for you there. The 10-piece nuggets, you know, a lot of people were upset that earlier this year McDonald's took away the 20-piece for $5 deal, at least in some areas. I know in some areas it was still available, but at least nationwide they took away the 20-piece for $5 deal. This is actually better than that, because if you want the 20 pieces for $5, you can still get that by getting 2 10 pieces in your 2 for $5. But if you just want half of the nuggets, 10 of those, and pick something else, you can get that too. So I like this as you know, 2 for $5 option as a much better way of getting your chicken nuggets. And then finally, the classic chicken sandwich, they included that, which is kind of curious. I really would recommend, if you're gonna get this deal, to avoid that at all costs, because that's value-wise the worst deal out of the bunch. The classic chicken sandwich is only $3 normally, so normally to get 2 of them it's only $6. You're only saving $1 off of that one, where, you know, compared to the Big Mac, 2 Big Macs are going to be over $8, maybe pushing $9 in some areas. So, you know, you're saving, you know, $3 or $4 off of that one. So you definitely want to, I would recommend, avoid the classic chicken sandwich unless you just really need a chicken sandwich with your 2 for $5. So anyways, it's the new McDonald's 2 for $5 deal. It started yesterday and it's available now. All right, next up I'd like to share with you a test item from Little Caesars. This item is not available nationwide, but it is being tested in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. And in fact, it looks like this may have been testing in some other markets earlier this year, back in February. And now it's testing in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And basically what it is a pizza split up into 4 different sections. So instead of like a half and half pizza, it's actually got 4 different sections. Really only 3 toppings, but they're kind of mixed and matched so that each quadrant is different. So it's got pepperoni, sausage, and bruschetta. Bruschetta is basically like tomatoes covered in olive oil and seasoning. So I guess if you're going to compare it to a regular pizza topping, it's most comparable to tomatoes. So like I said, it's split up into 4 sections. One is just bruschetta, one is just pepperoni, and then it's got a sausage and pepperoni section and a sausage and bruschetta section. So the only combinations you don't get are sausage only and bruschetta pepperoni. Overall, it seems like a pretty good idea. I like the idea of being able, I guess you basically get 2 slices of each section, and overall those ingredients sound like they go good together. Bruschetta with the pepperoni and the sausage, I think those all go pretty well together. One thing that's kind of just irking me about this picture of it though, and maybe they just did this for the picture, maybe operationally they would do it a little bit more efficiently, but basically looking at the picture here, they've got the sausage on half the pizza, then they've got the pepperoni on opposite quarters and the bruschetta on opposite quarters. So it actually makes it really nice looking as far as it looks like a lot of different variety around the pizza. But you know, if you're someone in the store who has to make this pizza or cut it, you really the easier way to do it would be to have the sausage on half the pizza, then the pepperoni on half the pizza, then the bruschetta on the other half of the pizza. So I know that's 3 halves, but really it makes sense. Take a look at my little diagram here. That's the better way to do it. I don't understand why Little Caesars would go about it this way, except for, I admit though, that it does make the picture a little more striking. It makes it look like the sections are a little bit more separated by doing it this way. So I am just nitpicking on that one. This one actually looks like a very good pizza from Little Caesars. They're testing it at an $8 price point. That'd be a pretty good price for this pizza. Again, it's just testing right now in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's the Little Caesars Quattro Italian Pizza. All right, moving right along, Jack in the Box is bringing back some old items, introducing some new items, plussing some existing items. There's a lot going on at Jack in the Box. First of all, they're bringing back their $3 munchie mashups. These come in 3 varieties, and they're basically hash browns chopped up with a white cheese sauce on them, and then either buffalo chicken, jalapenos and bacon, or eggs and bacon placed on top there. So these were first available last year, and they are now back. Also back is the Teriyaki Steak Bowl. Now I say it's back, even though Jack in the Box is billing it as new, but they have had steak teriyaki bowls in the past, so I'm not sure if the new represents it's just a new kind of steak that they're using, or what the case is here, but they're bringing that back, and they're also plussing their chicken teriyaki bowl. So the chicken teriyaki bowl never left the menu, it's always been available, but they're now saying that it has 40% more chicken than it did before. That's a pretty big increase in the amount of chicken. I think 25% would have been reasonable enough, but 40% more chicken makes me wonder what's really going on there. Were the portions of chicken, have they gotten that small where now 40% increase is just going to bring them back up to what they used to be, or I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, 40% more chicken, that's a great thing. So you can get that. You can also get the steak teriyaki bowl and also the $3 munchie mashups right now at Jack in the Box. And whew, I told you there was a bunch of news today. Thanks for sticking with me. Next up, we're going to talk about Papa John's. They got a brand new pizza, which is called the Bbq Meets Pizza. And it's basically the meats pizza, but just has a barbecue sauce instead of pizza sauce. So this is a really cool idea, I think. A lot of times when we have barbecue pizzas, it's usually kind of limited to like barbecue chicken pizzas or something along those lines. I think it's a really good idea to have just this whole spread of different meats and have those with barbecue sauce. I think that's a great idea from Papa John's. I think that is going to be a really good flavor combination, all those different meats with the barbecue sauce. And then another thing that's different about this new promotion from Papa John's is they're promoting the medium size of the Bbq Meets Pizza. So normally when Papa John's comes out with a special promotion pizza, they usually push the large version of it, and depending on what it is, it could be like, you know, get a large promotional pizza for 11 bucks or 13 bucks, you know, depending on what the pizza is. This one, rather than doing that, they're pushing the medium version, which they're having a promotional price, $6.99. And that's, you know, a pretty good price point for Papa John's to come in at. I think that forking over $7 to try a new kind of pizza is a lot more reasonable than having to commit to a full-size large pizza, especially, you know, with a barbecue type pizza. Because, you know, a lot of people, maybe they don't really know if they're gonna like the barbecue sauce on their pizza, so maybe they don't want to try a whole large size version of it. This will allow them to do the medium. They're also offering it in a large. You can basically upgrade your $6.99 medium pizza to a large for $3 more. So that really makes it a $10 large pizza. That's also a good price. I really like what Papa John's is doing with the pricing for this particular promotional pizza. For those that aren't familiar, the meats that are included are pepperoni, sausage, beef, bacon, and Canadian bacon. So real similar to that Little Caesars 5-meat feast that we talked about last week, just with the Canadian bacon instead of ham, which, you know, is pretty much the same thing anyways. But that's enough out of me. Now it's up to you to continue the conversation down below. I want to know, what do you think of Jason Alexander as the new Colonel Sanders? And for that matter, what do you think about the KFC changing Colonel Sanders every couple of months? Is this something that you know, you're kind of into, and this is kind of looking forward to who the next Colonel is going to be, or is it not even something that you even pay attention to? I want to know what you, the fast food foodies and drive-thru cuties, think about Jason Alexander as the new Colonel and the whole Colonel switching thing in general. Thank you so much for watching. For all the latest fast food news, be sure to subscribe. I release new videos twice a week, and you can watch more right now.